The views and opinions of this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. There is substantial risk of loss in trading futures and options, which you should carefully consider prior to trading. Well, we saw severe weather reports across parts of Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota from Monday night, and by and large, definitely some issues, but overall, I'm going to start that over. I'm rambling. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Well, we continue to see severe weather reports roll in from across parts of Iowa, Minnesota, and South Dakota from Monday night's severe weather event. Is it going to cause us some crop issues that are widespread enough to give us any sort of bullish momentum in these markets, or does rain make grain? Let's talk about that and take a look at what's been going on in this market trade. Matt Bennett, agmarket.net, joins us for a conversation. Matt, good to talk with you again, my friend. Hope all is well.
Yeah, all is well. What's a rally, by the way? I kind of forgot what that looks like, but yeah, you get all this severe weather. I know it wasn't super widespread, but by all means, there's no doubt there's some folks that wish that they didn't have the wind they had last night, and I feel for them. But obviously, the market didn't really care too much today.
No, I mean, a rally nowadays, are we talking a couple cents, a dime, a nickel? I think we'd love to see a dime here. Is it just the old adage, rain makes grain, Matt? It just seems like that's what this trade funds algorithms continue to go off of here across this grain complex.
Yeah, I think so. And the other thing is the fund's been short forever. Last year, they were covering their short as the farmer was selling old crop. Farmer doesn't have a lot of old crop to sell this year. Commercials have not sold a whole lot of corn at this point, if you look at the Commitment of Traders report. And so I'm not so sure that maybe the funds don't stick around a little longer than what they did last year and say, hey, as the commercials buying grain off these growers, we're going to see pressure on the market. And I think you're seeing a little bit of that this week. So why would the funds want to roll out of these positions until the commercials step in and have to buy a bunch of corn? And so, I guess from my vantage point, right now, it's a pretty tough time to expect a rally. A big crop looks like it could be getting bigger. Is August weather going to be as bad as a year ago? It sure doesn't look like it. Right in here where we're at in Central Illinois, we've missed the last rain, I guess, just a couple days ago, but we don't need rain right now. I mean, we're mowing the yard every 4 days. It's just unbelievable the way things are growing. Our garden looks like, it's the best we've ever had, and so you get out in the field and you see, ear counts are fantastic and huge ears. Is there some pollination concerns some places? Yeah, I'm sure there are. I haven't seen it personally, but it's a big crop right now. And that's just the mentality of the market, is that we don't need to own these grains.
Well, in your perspective, being a producer yourself, I mean, all the pollination talk, the tassel wrap, I mean, you name it. I've seen some of those stories out there too as well. Haven't seen it in person myself, but it's almost just seems like it's very localized. And then the severe weather stuff too. And, I think back to last year and years past, we see these things in certain pockets of the Midwest, but it never seems like it's enough of a widespread issue to give us a story in the trade, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that anyone is thinking that national yield's been affected by any of these events, and so, my biggest concern as we talk about this, I don't want to transition here, but I just want to tell you, my number one concern, Jesse, is what's fall basis look like this year? My issue is that there's a lot of agronomists telling me that there will be a ton of counties in the Corn Belt with very high county yields, way above the all-time record for those counties. I don't know. I mean, we're a ways from harvest. I understand that. But clearly, if people are talking a 185 yield, which is 6 bushel better than we've ever seen, you've got to expect there's going to be some counties that are massive. And so if you're in that type of an area, you got to ask yourself, yes, we've built a lot of storage the last few years, but what will basis look like on October 1st or October 10th or 15th? Right here in our area, posted basis levels right now are 35 under. I would assume you go to 50, 60 under. And so that's my number one concern. A grower that can't store all their corn at home, you know what? We got to be cognizant of not getting thrown into a decision of, hey, do I sell at a super wide basis? Or do I pay storage? And, I'm not picking on elevators. I totally understand what it's like. I've been in the elevator business. But one of the local co-ops told us today that, at a 20-cent dump fee, and then 12 cents a month or 4 cents a month thereafter. So to get out to Jan 1, you're looking at 32 cents. I mean, that's a tough road to hoe, and so I don't want to get pushed into that decision at the wrong time. And so I'm telling people, let's look out ahead just a little bit here.
I was going to say, I mean, how does someone manage their risk in this window? I know, to your point, a lot of growers, they just look at cash. They want to play the basis game, and that's great if that works for them. But there's a lot of tools out there in the toolbox. We touched on this so many times, but I know right now, with the way things are in the farm economy and more, I mean, how does someone put emotion aside and manage their risk in this window, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, here's the first thing I'm going to say. I don't think it's going to be super popular because I've said this out speaking. There'll be a lot of us this year that raise a record crop and lose money. I mean, I hate saying that. It's just, I'm afraid that's what's going to happen in some instances. It's not a situation where we're building liquidity or equity. This is a tough game we're playing right here. And so if I'm trying to avoid a disaster, our personal opinion in ag market, which is something I've been pretty involved in, is the bushels that have to go to town, get those things priced somewhere in here. Try to push for basis. If you have to do it for quantity, do it. If you got 50,000 bushels you can't store or more, go ahead and price it, and then just turn around and buy like a May call spread. And the reason we're doing that, Jesse, is that you can buy that May call spread for half to a third of what storage would cost you to get out to May. You might say, well, basis will improve by May. I totally agree. It very well could. But the problem is if cash prices don't improve, even if basis gets better, but the board moves lower, you still owe the storage money. And so I'd rather be in a position with some of these growers that I can get my hands on the money, stop interest. We know interest is still relatively high, get the interest stopped, and still be in the game if we turn the narrative. And while I'm saying that, I do think that the sentiment in this corn market will shift sometime over the next few months, and it may shift sooner rather than later, at least when we're talking new crop. And why would we do that? Well, we're going to be coming up on prepay time in the next 3 weeks or so. I always say it's right around Farm Progress Show. That's when they're hitting us all up. Hey, we want to prepay fertilizer. I think the ag chem retailer is going to have some alarm bells go off whenever they see first of all, a lot of growers don't have an appetite to pay what phosphate's going for right now. They just don't want to do it. $800-900 for MAP and DAP. It's just unbelievable what this stuff costs right now. First of all. Second of all, there's gonna be a lot of question marks. Hey, how many acres is a corn grower going to plant this next year? And so typically when you look at years with a much higher acreage than the previous year, most of the time you take a bit of a dip the following year. And so, what kind of corn acreage would I see next year with profit margins where they're at, with corn fertilizer ratio where they're at? I don't know that you get above 90, and so to further that point, Jesse, we've got massive demand. It's 15.4 billion bushels of demand. What could possibly go wrong if Brazil doesn't have a big corn crop? And then, yes, we could have over a 2 billion carry. Don't get me wrong. I totally get that. But if you've got 15.4 billion bushels of demand and you only plant 90 million acres, you're going to have some weather premium in that market at some point. So I do think storage on the farm is something that if a guy's patient, that it could certainly pay dividends. I'd much rather be in that situation, have some ownership of corn into next year. I think that it could pay. The tough one, though, again, is whatever you have to deliver across the scale. That's going to be a much tougher reality, I think, for a lot of us.
Matt Bennett with agmarket.net joining us here today. A couple other things I'll ask you quick, Matt, before we let you go today. Soybeans, wheat, any notes for you on that side of the grain complex?
When you're talking soybeans, we're still a little early to know that we've got a big crop coming. And for corn, I feel like we're like 85% of the way there. Yeah. Most growers that have had a lot of rain in the last week will say, as long as it cools off like the forecast is showing, I'm okay. I'm in good shape. Beans, we know, are an August crop. Most growers are going to tell you I need at least a couple of good rains in August. These April beans look absolutely incredible, potted to beat the band. But at the same time, if we don't get August rainfall, we know that it's a difference in our part of the world between maybe 65 bushel and 85 bushel beans. Yeah. I know a lot of people say, well, man, I wish I could raise 85 bushel beans. In Central Illinois, we've been super blessed the last few years. I don't know if it's environment. I know that a lot of guys are planting beans first, and I certainly think that has something to do with it. But by all means, if we get the right rainfall, we're going to have a record bean crop here too. And so it depends. I just don't know. But so on beans, what are we doing right now? I mean, we've sold a fair amount more beans earlier in the game, than what we did with corn. If I'm a grower and I'm sitting here on the same token, do I want to do commercial storage on beans? I don't know. Brazil's planting more beans again this year. U.S. growers are going to plant more beans next year. I'd almost bet you $100 bill on that, and so I don't know that storage is something I'm as interested in on beans. I'm more inclined, to stop the bleeding at some point. Look for a bounce. If we get a dry scenario in the next 2 weeks, anywhere, and I don't want anybody to lose yield, but just let's talk about it at least. If we could get that, maybe you get a little pop in this bean market. You can throw 30, 40, 50 cents on a bean market very rapidly if people get spooked. If that's the case, you better have your offers in. Okay. As far as wheat goes, I don't even know what to say about wheat. Wheat is just, it's just so finicky, it's really hard to make a case because this is going to be an overall big wheat crop here in the U.S. Now, I know we're not the number one world exporter, even close to it, but it's really hard to get this wheat market super fired up. We know Russia's going to have enough wheat. They've had some weather issues, but in EU, same thing. There's been weather issues, but overall, we've got enough wheat. So in all honesty, I think wheat's going to be more of a follower in here. This time of year, that's typically what we see. So if the corn and bean markets don't rally, I don't see much hope for wheat either.
Cattle complex. What can we say about cattle at this point? I think kind of the same thing applies, talking about managing risk in corn and beans and wheat. You got to manage your risk in this cattle complex.
You need to. You need to. And kudos to these guys that are still buying cattle, because I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. There is no way, Jesse, that I would buy cattle. Now, it would cost me money, potentially. How much higher can you go here? Technically, you could take feeders up another $30 if you wanted to. I don't know. I mean, you make all-time record highs again. I saw someone post to Twitter. They had some 3-weight Charolais steers yesterday that sold for $687. I mean, that is just absolutely incredible. But what else can you say other than if you're sitting here with a lot of exposure to the market, you do have to understand that the market is going to top before fundamentally we should, probably before technically we think we should. And so nobody knows when that's going to happen, but the funds have been super long cattle for quite some time. It's paid huge dividends for them. And at some point they're going to say they're just bored. They're tired of riding this thing, want to roll out of those positions. When that happens, you don't want to be long.
Anything final to leave folks with today, Matt?
I just, let's understand what we've got here. Let's not put our head in the sand. Being proactive. And like I say, if you're going to sell some corn in here, if you're truly hedging risk, go ahead and buy that call or call spread at the same time. Don't try to get cute and wait to buy it when it's down, because knowing your luck, we come in with a trade deal with China here in a week or two, and all of a sudden you'll be wishing that you went ahead and had that coverage there. And so it's a tough game we're playing. Keep your head up, and let's just hope that we can get something to happen that none of us knows right now. We get some sort of a boost to these markets, and I do think that will happen. It just may take some time.
Well, I know folks can reach out for a conversation with you and the rest of the team there and take a look at your intel and the app and more. agmarket.net. Matt Bennett, always good to hear from you, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week.
Absolutely. Same to you, bud.
Make sure to subscribe to the Market Talk YouTube channel. You can watch our latest interviews with top market analysts in the country, find bonus content, and much more. It's easy. Just go to youtube.com/@MarketTalkAg and hit the subscribe button. Or you can search for Market Talk Ag on YouTube.